Redemption Church, Scott here, hoping you have a great week, and just want to provide a little Palm Sunday meditation. So whether you are with your MC, with your family, or just by yourself, just want to kind of walk through the events on the first day of the Passion Week that we see in the scriptures. And there's three particular events that are annotated for us in the scriptures, and I just want to walk through them. The first one is recorded in all four Gospels, which I think underscores the significance of this event. In fact, this event is so powerful and important in the story that we call it Palm Sunday because of the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. See, the Passover was taking place this weekend, and Jesus was going to celebrate it with his disciples and all of Israel. And due to the last several years of Jesus's ministry, there's a lot of messianic expectation around this particular Passover. And so Jesus is on the Mount of Olives with his disciples, and before he enters into the city, he sends ahead two disciples who are to get a donkey and a colt. Now, why is Jesus riding on a donkey and a colt? It's not because this is the BMW of the day or, just the cool way to enter. Jesus is doing an intentional, symbolic act where he does two things. First of all, he is fulfilling prophecy. Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9 speaks of a coming king who will ride on the foal of a donkey. And secondly, he's not only fulfilling prophecy, but he's imitating Solomon when he was declared king, rode into the city on a donkey. In essence, Jesus is saying he's the truer and greater Solomon, and the king of Zechariah 9, to whom all of Israel must look to, who will bring their redemption and who will bring them salvation. And so as Jesus makes his way into the city, the crowds rightly interpret what is happening. They begin to spread their robes in front of Jesus and put down leafy palm branches, hence we call it Palm Sunday. In essence, they're giving Jesus the royal red carpet treatment. And they're acclaiming him to be their Davidic king. In fact, they are shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our father David." The crowds are openly and accurately acclaiming Jesus to be their Lord, their king, not Caesar. And the entire city is shaken by these events. The crowds continue to tell everyone they know about Jesus. And yet, as we have seen, there are some people who don't like it, specifically the Pharisees. They tell Jesus and all the crowds to be quiet, to quit spreading their dangerous messianic enthusiasm. But it's nearly impossible to fully grasp the political and the religious actions that Jesus is making with his triumphal entry. Jesus could have went on to live a long life, managed to have a good, happy, peaceful life. But these actions on Sunday set in course a series of events that could only end in two options. Number one, it could end in the overthrow of Rome and the overthrow of the establishment, the Jewish religious establishment, as their messianic king, or it would end in his death. He was at the crossroads, a point of no turning back. Caesar was not going to allow any rival kings. And in light of this, in Luke 19, we see that when Jesus sees all of this, he begins to weep over the city of Jerusalem, knowing what is coming ahead. The second event that we see happening on Palm Sunday, or this first day of the Holy Week, is Jesus talking to a bunch of Greeks who are also at the Passover, which is interesting. And they want to have a conversation. They want to have an audience with Jesus. And John does not record what the questions are that the Greeks bring, but it does record Jesus's answer. And Jesus responds to the Greeks by predicting his death and describing it as the very purpose for which he has come into the world. And we all know that there's a voice from heaven when Jesus gets baptized. But do you know there's a second voice from heaven in Jesus' ministry right here in John chapter 12 when he makes this claim, a voice from heaven? It's actually a thunderous noise from heaven that affirms God's commitment to glorify God's name in all of God's earth through the coming death and resurrection of Jesus. And Jesus goes on to clarify to the Greeks what kind of death he will undergo. He must be lifted up, hereby predicting his crucifixion. But as often the case with John, not only is he lifted up to be crucified, but in his crucifixion, he is going to be lifted up over all the authorities and over all the rulers of this present world. And so in John chapter 12, verse 31, it says that he will deal Satan a crushing blow on the cross. The Jewish crowd, of course, does not like this event either. And they begin to argue that if you're truly the Messiah, you must remain forever. You can't die. And Jesus does not answer their objection at this point, but instead commands them to walk while they have the light. Jesus himself, being the light of the world, to believe in the light. Come to me while there is light, that you may become sons of light. Because if you don't, the darkness is coming. And then the third and final event that we see Jesus doing on the first day here of Passion Week is he visits the temple. This is recorded in Matthew 21 and Mark chapter 11. We get a lot more information in Matthew chapter 21 where Jesus is visiting a temple complex, and while he's there, he's healing the blind, healing the lame, giving sight, giving walk, the ability to walk to people. And he's also here receiving the praise of children who are praising him at the temple complex. And this kind of sets the scene for the rest of the week, as we'll see. When Jesus visits the temple later in the week, it does not go as expected, it does not go like this. But here is Jesus's, what I would call, last joyful visit to the temple, to visit his people, to show the messianic power, and to show that even children can praise him. One thing I've been thinking through as I've gone through this day is just to experience and look at and kind of feel all the emotions that Jesus must have felt. From going into Jerusalem, being acclaimed king, being acclaimed Lord and not Caesar, to then having a bunch of Greeks come to him and him predicting his death, knowing that it's all for the glory of the Father, and then going to the temple and celebrating with people who have sight, celebrating with people who have the ability to walk, and celebrating with the little children what Jesus is about to go do. What a range of emotions and feelings Jesus must have had that day. And in John chapter 12, I would encourage you to meditate on this with all of your emotions and all of your feelings, to do what Jesus did and take them to the Father, knowing that in and through your life, he's working all things together for your good and the glory of God throughout all the earth. Yes, our small, minuscule lives are, in a sense, a piece of mosaic in light of all of creation, in light of all of the people of God, in which he's using your life and my life for his glory. And we can know that our lives are for him, that our actions and our feelings and all of it are for him as we take them to him, because the cross is true. Because Jesus was lifted up, you and I will be lifted up. You and I will experience glory and joy and peace. And so it's through many trials and tribulations we must enter the kingdom. We follow in the path of Jesus. And along the way, let's imitate Jesus, running to our good Father with all of our issues, all of our problems, knowing that he will deal with all of the evil and bring us into his glorious new creation together. So Lord bless you as you continue on the journey this week of following Jesus in the Passion Week. And I look forward to celebrating with you the resurrection of Jesus on Easter Sunday. God bless you, Redemption Church. I love you and appreciate you.